everyone says memorizing Quran is extremely hard as an adult, but the truth is that's not actually why most people fail. The real reason people fail is for a reason not many actually talk about. You see, if you're someone who is younger and built that memorization habit, or maybe you're in like an Islamic school, you probably have that kind of structure. You kind of have that identity, that foundation of memorizing. So it's maybe really easy to just, start memorizing for you or to keep it a habit. Whereas someone like me who really didn't start like that, or for a lot of people who are starting later in their life, you have to build that from ground zero. And add on top of that, it's really just you. It's really just you who has to make that decision, between the phone or the Quran, between the distraction or the memorization. Whereas maybe if you were a kid, maybe you were in that younger kind of system, you're more likely to get pushed in the right direction, where now it's honestly just up to your discipline, your habits. You see, in my experience, this just opens up a whole other world of issues, because there's been so many days where I'm open the Mus'haf and I realize I just forgot everything I memorized the day before or a week ago. And you just start doubting yourself, maybe it's too late. Maybe I should just stop right now. But you really have to remember that it's just you against you, because there's so many times where you can opt in for maybe the comfortable habit, but you realize at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and even at the end of our lives, we'll be so much more grateful that we actually memorized instead of just wasting our time on just the small stuff. But one big realization that hit me after a year of trying to just memorize in offices, workspaces, at my university, in the car even, is that as an adult, you have to really just make it work. And you can't expect to memorize the same way kids are memorizing, where you have that undistracted time and your whole environment is around it. You really just have to assume that you only have like maybe 2 hours you can dedicate to the Quran a day, and how you can actually maximize that efficiently. And there's some certain tactics that I kind of learned from this that you can actually include in your life that inshallah will make you not only just like memorize more, but also hold on to more of what you've memorized. And one of the first being is that using this morning time specifically to revise Quran. Something that I learned is that you really have to be aware of like where your energy is going specifically in that morning period, because that's when you're the most energetic, you're the most motivated to do stuff. And that is probably like the perfect window to guard your time to memorize or revise Quran. And every time I look back on like my Quran progress on the documentation I left, it usually shows that if I didn't memorize in the morning, I probably wouldn't memorize later in the day. I had to do something in the morning, whether it was even just 30 minutes or maybe an hour of revision or memorization. That will start the day off so right. And in turn, you'll probably memorize again later in the day before you go to sleep. And then you hit your maybe 2-hour mark that you're trying to aim for. Another tip I'll give you is that try to kind of familiarize yourself with the Quran just while you're commuting. There's probably like random portions in the Quran that I've already memorized, just because when I'm driving here or I'm walking here, I'm taking the bus here or whatever, I was just playing Quran in my ear, and consistently over the week, it just eventually got stuck in my memory. And even if you don't memorize that particular page from listening, when you actually come later to open the Quran to memorize, you found yourself much more familiar with the vocabulary, with the flow of the Quran. So it's actually much quicker, much easier to memorize. So I would say wherever you are, if you have the ability to listen to Quran, always try to do that. And the last thing I'll say is that the mindset that you can't memorize Quran as an adult is actually extremely dangerous. And that alone is what's stopping so many people from making any progress on their memorization. And I personally know this because I was that person. I went the vast majority of my life thinking that all memorizing is for like some random like elite type of people, some group that no way I could do that. It's only for this group of people who take it extremely seriously, who dedicated their entire life to this, who don't do work, don't do school, don't do any of that, but they're just locked in on the Quran. When in reality, I was totally wrong. The truth is you can make progress on your hifz journey, honestly, no matter what your schedule looks like. And the evidence for this is that tons of people have done it. And that's actually what got me on this path. It's when I actually started meeting people who weren't different from me. They were in the Western school system. They had the same kind of language and lingo that I did. They grew up in America. They worked here. And then I would come to find out they completed the entire Quran, or they memorized huge portions of the Quran. So if you're someone with that belief, try to remove that from your mind as soon as possible, because it's not serving you whatsoever. But inshallah, that video is a benefit. And if you're looking to like seriously memorize Quran, feel free to check out the link in the description. Assalamu alaikum.